It started with the fact that I found the key under the door of my apartment. Yes, that's right, the key was sticking out from under the threshold, as if it had been stuck there at night. It took me a moment to realize that it wasn't mine. My key was in my pocket, and this one, it was old, rusty, and had a chipped plastic handle. I thought then that the neighbors had probably forgotten, or the janitor had left it. But when I turned it in the lock, the door wouldn't open. The lock was intact, but the key didn't fit. The next morning, I saw the note. It was lying on the table, as if it had been blown by the wind. It was written in pencil, large, without mistakes. "Come in, but don't turn on the lights." The signature is only 3 dots. I laughed. He laughed until he heard footsteps behind him. I turned around and saw no one. But the bathroom door was ajar, even though I had locked it. I couldn't sleep that night. Light was leaking out from under the bathroom door. I went over and pulled the handle with trembling hands, but it wouldn't budge. Then I kicked, and the door flew open. The tub was full of water, and there was a new note on the mirror. "Count to 100. Don't stop." I started counting. My voice trembled, but I whispered, 101, 102. At 140, the water in the tub began to rise. She splashed, and then I woke up on the floor with my head in a puddle. The notes were gone. But that evening, a new message appeared on the refrigerator. "You didn't follow the rules. Now you have to pay." I wanted to burn it, but the matches wouldn't light. The fire went out as soon as I brought them closer to the paper. The third day, I found that all the windows in the apartment were boarded up. Someone entered my apartment while I was sleeping. Or was he awake? I don't remember. There was a childhood photo of me in the closet that I hadn't seen in 20 years. On the back is the arrow again, "Look in the mirror." I didn't look, but at night, a silhouette appeared in the mirror. He waved his hand at me, but the face was mine, only with his eyes up. The fourth day. Smell. At first I thought it was rotten tomatoes from a fridge, but then I realized it was blood. Blood was oozing out from under the bathroom door. I couldn't get in, so I dialed 911. The operator said I should describe the problem. I screamed, but all I could hear on the phone was the beat of my heartbeat. The fifth day, I found the diary. There were notes about other people in it, about those who lived here before me. They were all gone. One entry read, "He doesn't kill. He's testing, but if you don't pass the test, he'll kill you." I dropped the diary. He fell to the floor, and the pages closed by themselves. The sixth day, the bathroom mirror is cracked. There are numbers in the cracks, 6. I decided to run away. I packed my things, but the door wouldn't open. Then I broke the window. The street was quiet. No cars, no people. Just my house. And the neighboring houses are all abandoned. The windows are boarded up. The seventh day, I heard a voice. He was whispering, "You passed the test." I didn't know if I should be happy or not. Then the door opened. A man in a black coat stood in the doorway. He handed me the key, the one I'd found under the door. "You're free," he said. But when I took the key, it melted in my hand, leaving only blood. The seventh day. I ran through the empty streets, but my legs carried me back. Every step echoed in my ears. "You're not free. You're next." The houses at the intersection stood like skeletons. The windows were broken. The walls were covered with graffiti, as if someone had tried to leave a message. I stopped, leaning against the fence. My heart was pounding, as if someone was pounding on my chest from the inside. Then I noticed there was a sign on the fence, "Residents only entrance." Caption, "Finish the test." I couldn't believe it. These houses, they weren't abandoned. They were a trap. I returned to my apartment. The door was open. Inside, it's complete madness. The walls are covered with numbers. There were shards of mirrors on the floor, and my clothes soaked in blood in the kitchen. There's a can of soup in the fridge, open and gone bad. I ate it, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't taste it anymore. That night, I woke up to the creaking of the floor. Someone was walking around the apartment. I froze. A shadow flashed past the bathroom door. I stood up, holding a frying pan in my hand, the only thing I found. The footsteps were getting closer. I rushed into the hallway and saw him. A man in a black coat, his face in shadow, but his eyes were bright blue like ice. "You've been through 7 days," he said. The voice sounded like an old record. "Now the next phase will begin." What does that mean? Survival or death? He tossed me the key. The same rusty key. I squeezed it, and it didn't melt. The man disappeared as suddenly as he appeared. There was a note on the floor. "Find them. 7 doors. The 7 keys." I understood. This is not my apartment. This is just the first of 7. I ran through the streets, hammering every detail into my head. There were traces of blood on the corner of house number 13, and the number 2 carved into concrete on the roof of the neighboring building. The next day, I found the second door. It led to the basement of a store. There was a table with a camera. The pictures show people who look like me. They were smiling at the same doors. The signature on the last one, I couldn't. I turned on the camera. He whistled, and laughter came from the speakers. The laugh is familiar. Mine. The third door was in an abandoned hospital. There I found a patient registration log. My name was on the list. A.S. Ivanov entered into the 7 days program on March 22nd, 2025. Next came the entries. Day 1, failed. Day 2, failed. Day 3, failed. I remembered, March 22nd is yesterday. So I've been here before. Or am I always here? The fourth door is in the basement of the library. There were piles of letters. They were addressed to me. Letters from me. Don't come back. They're watching. You have to kill them. The last letter. Burn them. Everything. Otherwise they will kill you. I burned the letters in a pile by the door. But the fire went out as soon as I turned away. The fifth door is in the old house opposite mine. There I saw myself in the mirror. My face was wet with sweat. My eyes were dilated. The mirror cracked, and a new message appeared in the cracks. You're not the only one. I opened the closet. There were 7 coats hanging there. Each one is black, with a number from 1 to 7. Mine has the number 7 on it. The 6th door is in the basement of the city hall. There was an archive of documents. I found a city plan in it. All 7 houses were connected by underground tunnels. On the map, my apartment, hospital, library, and a dot circled in red, the center. Do not enter. That night, I returned to my apartment. There was a new letter on the table, the last key. You know where he is. I rushed to the bathroom. The water in the toilet tank was red. I took off the lid and saw a corpse. A man in a black coat. His face is my face. His hand was clutching the key. I pulled out the key. The corpse was gone. There's a note on the floor. You've won. Now you're next. I woke up in my apartment. The sun was shining through the window. Everything was the same as before, but there was a new key under the door. Since then, I've been repeating the cycle. Every time there's a new apartment, new houses, new corpses. But now I know that I am not a victim. I'm part of the experiment. And if one day I don't come back to the center, you didn't make it, the man in the coat whispers. And I can see his eyes. They're not blue anymore. They're mine. I'm writing this now, sitting in my apartment. The key is nearby. There's a new note on the table. The 7th day comes tomorrow. I do not know if I can survive, but I have to tell you about it. You may have already heard the story. Maybe you're next. His body was shaking, as if in a fever. I was running down the street, not noticing where I was putting my feet. The asphalt was cracked like old bark, and houses looked like skeletons left over from a fire. The windows were broken, the doors were open, as if someone had ripped them through. But there was no wind, just my own breathing, hoarse and ragged. I turned the corner, and the world collapsed. Ahead, at the intersection, was my house. The same facade, the same windows, the same boards at the entrance. How is this possible? I just ran away from there, and now I stopped, and my heart started pounding, so hard it felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. The air became thick, like viscous resin. I backed away, but the wall of the house stopped me. I turned around and saw the same wall behind me, the same ruined buildings. I was trapped where all the streets lead to one place. My phone rang in my pocket. Turned on 0 bar. 0 signal. 0 time. I cursed and threw him against the wall. The rumble echoed off the nearby houses. Then I heard crying. Not mine. Not my echo. Baby crying. Weak, trembling. It was coming from around the corner where my house stood. I froze. The scream was repeated. This time I made out the words, "Help, please." My legs carried me there on their own. There was a backpack lying around the corner by the entrance. Child. There was a ball lying nearby, and there were scratches on the wall. I sat down and touched my backpack. It was wet like spilled water, but the humidity smelled like blood. I yanked the clasp. There was a letter inside. Postcard. It read, "Don't look for us. Otherwise, we'll find you." The signature is 3 dots. The same 3 dots as in the first note. My stomach clenched. I stood up and looked around. To the right, beyond a mountain of trash, was an alley. I rushed there, hoping to find a way out. But the alley ended in a brick wall. I punched the wall. It was as hard as concrete. Something rustled in his pocket. I pulled out the key, the one that melted in my hand. But now he was whole. I grabbed it, and at that moment the wall behind me creaked. Door. A new door appeared in the wall, as if it had been cut out of thin air. It was old wooden with a rusty lock. The key fitted into the lock effortlessly. I turned it around. The door opened inward. There's an empty room behind it. White walls, concrete floor, one light bulb overhead. I went in. The door slammed shut. There was a body in the corner. A man in a coat, face covered in blood, hands tied with wires. His chest was heaving, but his breathing was hoarse, like that of a dying man. Are you here too? Stop it, he croaked. Who are you? I asked, holding my hands up like in the movies. A former tenant, he coughed, blood flowing from his mouth. You have to. He didn't finish. His eyes rolled back in his head, and his body jerked and went still. I staggered back, but I couldn't look away. There are needle marks on his chest, like from a syringe. There are numbers on the wall. 7. I tore through the door. It wouldn't open. Then I punched him. There was a hum in response. You passed the test, a voice said from behind him. I turned around. A man in a black coat stood in the doorway. The same one who opened the door. The face is calm, the eyes are cold. You have to choose, he said. Become a part of this place or die. What is this place? I asked, my voice trembling. He smiled. Do you think this is a house? No, this is a laboratory, and you're a subject. 7th, the lab. What are you doing? We study fear. He took a step forward. Did you think it was an accident? No. Every note, every trap is a calculation. You should have felt hopeless. Why? Because fear is the key to control. He took a key out of his pocket. You can leave. But only if you fulfill the condition. What's that? Find a way out. But first, he pointed to the body. You have to find out how he stayed here. I looked at the corpse. Do you kill people? No. We're processing them. He nodded at the body. He refused to cooperate. Cooperate? Yes. We offer a choice. Either you stay, work with us, or you die. Or you become part of the experiment. In what way? You'll see. He opened the door. Go ahead. Your room is at the end of the hall. I froze. If I go, will you let me go? No. You'll be here forever. But if you complete the task, we will give you freedom. What's the assignment? Find a way out. But for that, you have to pass the test. What's that? He smiled. You have to kill someone. Who? Anyone. But not here. Outside. Why? Because fear is energy. And your fear, we need it. I recoiled. You're nuts. He shrugged his shoulders. Maybe. But you'll agree. Or I'll send you to him. He pointed at the corpse. And if I give up, then you'll be next. I froze. Thoughts screamed in my head. It's a trap. This is a setup. They won't let me leave. But if I refuse, I will be killed. Or are they right? Maybe this is the only chance. Okay, I breathed. I agree. He nodded. Then go. Your key. He held it out. He will open all the doors, but only if you go ahead. I took the key. This time it didn't melt. Where's the exit? At the end of the corridor. But remember, if you disobey. I know. He disappeared as quickly as he appeared. I moved forward. The hallway was long, and the walls were bare. But there was a door at the end. It was the same as the one in my apartment. I stopped. Something moved in his pocket. I took out my phone. The signal appeared. Hello. I shouted, but there was only noise on the phone. Then I dialed 911. Emergency service, a female voice said. I need help. I shouted. I'm in the lab. There. The lab. She interrupted. Who are you? My name is... Stop. You shouldn't be here. Please help. No, she hesitated. You weren't supposed to know about us. What? You have passed the test. Now you have to stay. I dropped the phone. He fell to the floor, the screen cracked. Exit, I whispered. The door at the end of the hallway opened. Beyond it is a street. My house. But there was a man in a black coat standing on the sidewalk ahead. He looked at me, and there was a cold calculation in his eyes. Are you ready? He asked. For what? To the exit. He held out his hand. I froze. What should I do? Make a choice. He nodded at my house. That's where your goal is. The purpose. Yes. Who's that? He smiled. You'll see. I stepped forward. If I kill someone, will you let me go? Yes. And if it doesn't? Then you'll stay here. Forever. I stopped. You're maniacs. Maybe. But you agreed. I inhaled. Good. He nodded. Go ahead. I entered the house. It was quiet inside. There's blood on the stairs. Fresh, dark. I went up to the second floor. At the end of the corridor is a door marked 7. I opened it. There's a room inside. There's a body on the floor. Woman. His face is covered in blood. His hands are tied. She was breathing, but weakly. Help me, she whispered. I froze. You have to choose, a voice said from behind. It was him in a black coat. What should I choose? Her life or your freedom? But this is crazy. Yes, but you're already in it. The woman sobbed. I clutched the key in my hand. If I kill her, will you let me go? Yes. And if it doesn't? You're staying here. Forever. I looked at the woman. Her eyes were filled with terror. I'm sorry, I whispered. And he hit me. No. Stop it, she shouted. But I've already acted. The key was stuck in her neck. Blood splattered on the walls. She screamed, but I didn't stop. When it was over, I fell to my knees. Now, I whispered. You're free now, he said. The door opened. Thanks, I said, wiping my hands. He nodded. You did well. I went outside. The air was fresh. No fire, no damage. My house is fine. I went to him, but my phone rang in my pocket. Is that you? What is it? The voice asked. Yes. You have completed the task. Where's the exit? You're already out. What? You got out. Now you... What? You're part of the experiment now. I froze. What does part mean? You know how it works. I don't understand. You will bring new subjects. Or... He hesitated. You can stay. Stay where? Here. Is this a joke? No. It's your choice. I looked at my house. I want to leave. Then you have to find a way out. Where? In your head. This is madness. Maybe. But you're already in it. I dropped the phone. I'm leaving. But the house was gone. The maze stood in its place again. You're part of the system now, said a voice from behind. I turned around. I was standing there. But it wasn't me. It was me, but with my eyes up. You passed the test, he said. Now you're... Stop. I shouted. It's not true. He smiled. You chose. And then I understood. It wasn't a laboratory. It was my mind. My fear. And I couldn't get out. Because I was already part of the experiment. I always have been. It's only a matter of time before I realize it. Now, you've chosen, I repeated with my eyes turned upside down. Now you know the rules. I backed away, but he stepped forward. His mouth stretched into a smile that did not reach his eyes. Do you think this is the end? He asked. No, this is the beginning. I looked around. The street has changed again. It was my home now, but not mine. The walls were covered with cracks, the doors were open, and gray light was pouring out of the windows. What does that mean? I whispered. You're the host now, he replied. You will bring new subjects. Or... He hesitated. If you refuse, you'll become part of the maze. I shook my head. No, I will not kill others. He shrugged his shoulders. Then choose. Either you go ahead or what? Or we'll leave you here. Forever. I looked at my house. Now it looked like a prison. The door is closed, the windows are boarded up. You can't force me. We won't force you. You'll choose for yourself. This is madness. Maybe. But you're already in it. I rushed to the door. It wouldn't open. Then I punched, and there was only a roar in response. Listen, I said with my eyes turned upside down. You need to find a way out. But for that, you have to... What? Pass the test. What's that? He nodded at the body of the woman in the room. You have to do it again. Kill someone else. Yes. But how? I do not know where they are. They'll come. He smiled. You know how it works. I froze. It's a trap. You want me to kill someone else to make me stay. Maybe. But you'll agree. Why? Because fear is the key. And you've already proved that you're ready to go all the way. I looked around. There was a door at the end of the hallway. It was the same as the one in my apartment. What's in there? I asked. Your goal. The purpose. Yes. I went to the door. My hand was shaking, but I turned the knob. There's a room behind it. There was a body on the floor. The man in the coat. His face is covered in blood. His hands are tied with wires. Is that you? I asked. It's your choice, a voice answered from behind. I froze. If I kill him, will you let me go? Yes. And if it doesn't, then you'll stay here. Forever. I looked at the man. He looked like me, but older. There's horror in his eyes. Please, he whispered. Don't do that. It's not me, I said. You're forcing me. He closed his eyes. I clutched the key in my hand. I'm sorry, I whispered. And he hit me. Blood splattered on the walls. He screamed, but I didn't stop. When it was over, I fell to my knees. Now, I began. You're free now, the voice replied. The door opened. Thanks, I said, wiping my hands. You did it, he said. I went outside. The air was fresh. No destruction. My house is fine. I went to him, but my phone rang in my pocket. Is that you? What is it? The voice asked. Yes, you have completed the task. Where's the exit? You're already out. What? You got out. Now you... What? You're part of the experiment now. I froze. Is this a joke? No, it's your choice. I looked at my house. I want to leave. Then you have to find a way out. Where? In your head. This is madness. Maybe. But you're already in it. I dropped the phone. I'm leaving. But the house was gone. The maze stood in its place again. You're part of the system now, said a voice from behind. I turned around. I was standing there. But it wasn't me. It was me, but with my eyes up. You passed the test, he said. Now you're... Stop. I shouted. It's not true. He smiled. You chose. And then I understood. It wasn't a laboratory. It was my mind. My fear. And I couldn't get out. Because I was already part of the experiment. It's only a matter of time before I realize it. Now I'm next. Say plus for the continuation or end for the ending. The final by the command end. I woke up. It was all a dream. Or not. I was looking at my hands. They were clean, but there was a key in his pocket. The one with the rusty, chipped handle. I was startled. There was a key under the door of my apartment. The same one. I grabbed him, but he wouldn't fit in the lock. There was a note on the table. Come in, but don't turn on the lights. 3 dots. I laughed. It's unreal. It's impossible. But when I turned around, there was no one behind me. And the bathroom door was ajar. And did you hear strange noises in your apartment? Did you find a key under the door that isn't yours? This is not fiction. This is the reality. Or not. If you have read to the end, it means that you're already logged in. You have chosen. Subscribe to find out how I got out. Turn on notifications. The next story will start from where yours ended. And remember, sometimes fear is not an illusion. Sometimes he's the key. Thanks for keeping the lights on.